Enjoying being here for the news or just for the heat? It's not a bad reason to come in, is it?
Well, they do have a choice of milks in the fridge. That's what, because Leo's always drinking the milk, isn't he?
Yeah, that's how you get around this cost of living lark, isn't it?
Yeah, come to GBNews and drink their milk.
Yeah, you can also nick paper from the photocopy, but I'm probably not meant to say that. Let's start with tomorrow's front pages, and we start with the Telegraph first of all. And Friday's Telegraph has GPs given record pay rises in pandemic. Wages hit different to justify the £142,000 as patients were turned away from surgeries. Friday's Independent next has NHS vaccine vacancies reach staggering record high, and Johnson makes dig at Truss on fracking. Friday's Guardian next has revealed 2 out of 3 police forces hit by increase in gun crime. We'll be talking about that shortly. And Treasury draws up options for mini-budget in a fortnight. The Financial Times leads with Putin broadens scope of war on anti-Russia enclave of Ukraine, and Microsoft $75 billion Activision takeover threatens to fall foul of UK regulator. The Times for Friday has COVID-style tax breaks for firms facing ruin, and Truss parents anguish over her rise to top of party. Into the Express now on Friday. That goes with now even Boris critics say Partygate probe is wrong, and a tribute to the broadcaster Bill Turnbull, who's died at the age of 66. Friday's Metro with another tribute. Thank you, Bill. Thousands of lives saved thanks to Turnbull's heroic campaign. And finally, the Daily Star with Pot, Kettle, Pratt. Genius bozo solves UK's energy crisis. And those are your front pages. Well, we kick off with an article from the front page of The Guardian and the rise of gun crime, Sajila.
Yeah, very disturbing news. So gun crime is rising in 2/3 of the police force areas of England and Wales. An analysis reveals that firearms offences have increased in 29 out of 43 forces over the past decade. Now, obviously, you know, there's been a bit of a rise, and we know that, like from recent shooting that was just covered in the news in Liverpool within a space of a week. The most recent was obviously the very, tragic death of the 9-year-old Olivia Pratt-Corbell, who was killed because they went past her to go and look for someone else. And it's just horrific. I mean, obviously concerns are being raised why, how the availability of these guns, and that's what I want to know, is like how have we got to this stage? Like, how have we become a little mini America? Where are these guns coming from? How are young people getting access to it? Further on the story, it does say that they are often, gangs tend to borrow them from each other, like, sugar from the neighbours, but they just borrow a gun from another gang, like, hey...
So you could end up with more gun crimes than there are guns?
Yeah. And so the guns are, they're obviously the same guns are being used. And it's just horrific. I don't know where this is going to end, really.
But, Kerry, how about this? To try and find anything positive in the story, fire has fallen by 14% on the whole in the past 10 years. It's just that...
Overall, it's falling, and it's gone down in London, but it's spreading around the rest of the country, which is good for us in London, but not the rest of the country. I'm against gun crime myself. I hate being shot.
Yeah, good.
I've never tried it, so I might be wrong. It might be great, but it doesn't look good, does it? I read the headline, but the headline's very badly worded. Gun crime rising in 2/3 of police force areas. It makes it sound like it's the police force's fault, really, doesn't it?
Yeah.
They're obviously the ones getting up to it. Some while ago they do a gun amnesty every now and a gun armistice every now and then. If someone can bring in a gun and do so anonymously. And some years ago, I actually owned a gun that came into my possession. It was a replica. And I thought going along to one of these armistices to get rid of it. You can do it anonymously, I thought. And I had a balaclava. So I did consider for a moment taking really anonymous, but I know it would have been a bad idea.
It's good that it's anonymous, because nobody to this day knows that Kerry Marks owned a gun and was wearing a balaclava. Because that's why I wouldn't, even if I had one, I wouldn't hand it in, because I would be too scared that, like, they'd know it was me. But why would I have a gun?
But if it's an amnesty, then you're allowed to hand it in. No
Yeah,
questions
It was
asked.
back at the time, though, when this was under Blair, where there was a whole load of databases. And you remember they had databases with the police had database on people who had gone into a police station and hadn't actually been done for any crime. So it was a bit of a worry back at that time. And the gun came into my hands, by the way, because I bought it with a magic trick.
Oh,
I've totally silenced you both, but that was just, and it was off no names. No names, in a pub somewhere, some bloke. But someone sold me a magic trick, and it came with a gun that I thought was a joke, a toy thing, but was a replica. Yeah.
By the way, a great comedian and magician. So just to
In the past.
In the past, but just to establish that story is true. It's not.
Yes, it's actually true. Yeah. But I don't have it anymore. I know nothing.
Before I end up being called as a witness in some future court case, let's move on. Friday's Times, detailing the Uyghur abuse report. Kerry, what do you have to say on this?
This is an awful story. Yes, it's from the Uyghur abuse report may lead to the first China inquiry by the Hague Court, which is good that there's going to finally be an inquiry. This has been going on for years. We're having a chat backstage about the correct pronunciation, because what we're hearing I've heard on news programmes, Uyghur, and various other versions.
Uyghur?
What do you think it is?
Uyghur?
Well, we checked on the Google pronunciation, and it's Uyghur.
Uyghur.
Which sounds a bit Yiddish, doesn't it? Uyghur. You just had a volt, Uyghur volt. If they revolt, they would actually have a headline saying Uyghur revolt. But that's not going to happen. But I don't want to make any light of this story, because what's going on in China is a complete cultural genocide of the Uyghurs. And we don't know enough details, but there is enough out now to know it is happening. And China has reacted to this report. China is protected by not being a signatory of the Rome Statute, which means it's not subject to the jurisdiction of this court. But at the same time, finally, something might happen here. But the trouble is, for a long time, the UN Human Rights Commission has been totally ineffective with this, largely because it's just full of despots. They had the idea a while ago that if they bring despotic nations into the group, that would change their ways. But of course, it backfired and went the other way, and they protected each other. And a few years ago, the Human Rights Council actually sent a letter of congratulations to China for its treatment of the Uyghur Muslims. Wow. Which is horrifying.
Yeah.
So now we've reached this stage. China says that it's not true and it's being blamed for something that's not going on, but prove it. Let the press in.
Yeah. And Sajila, in this story, it says that the report doesn't actually call it a genocide, and China's made some mileage of that. You think if your best defence is, well, it doesn't use the word genocide, it's still not the best defence.
I know. It's mad. I mean, China reacted apparently with fury to the release of the report. Of course they reacted with fury, because they got rumbled, they've been found out. We've known this for a long time. Human rights organisations have known about this and reported on this, and nothing's been done. And even I think I saw footage earlier on today where they've actually got people who they do awful experiments on them, saying, oh no, they've chosen to be here. They want to learn.
Yep.
They're here to learn, and just complete lies. Where we
to learn how not to be themselves, and the Uyghurs are really interesting as well. They've got an amazing culture of metalwork and architecture and so on, and clothing, and it's all just being evaporated. So maybe this is the turning point. We can hope it is.
Yeah.
We'll see. Let's move on now. Next, Friday's Telegraph with a potential bump in the road for Liz Truss. Sajila, is this a good idea?
OK, so Liz Truss hints that she could axe the motorway speed limits. Now, the Tory front-runner... God, is it not over yet? Please, mate. I can't bear any more of this. It's weeks and weeks and weeks.
No, only a week to go, or a few days.
Only a few days, but we know it's going to be her. So basically, she's pledging to ban the smart motorways. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't trust the smart motorways, because I believe in the hard shoulder, which should be the hard shoulder that we can all cry on when we have a breakdown on the motorway. So, yeah, and she's also thinking of getting rid of the speed limit and basically allowing people to go at the speed that they want, which I think is a terrible idea. We need boundaries. What's with, this is going to cause, terrible you know, disruption and people are just going to drive around like lunatics and we can't trust people.
Maybe, I don't know. I don't know. There's a lot of different theories about this because if you have faster drivers on lanes on the outside, then they get off the motorways faster, so you actually have fewer people on the road at any one time. So it does kind of make sense. And also, while speed does make an accident worse, the thing that causes accidents is bad driving. What we really need is better driving on motorways. But that's not even covered properly on driving courses, and it should be.
Yeah, but that's not going to be covered with the speed limit, though. Like if you say right, you can drive at any speed. If you're a bad driver, you're going to drive badly and at the wrong speed.
I learned to drive at a time when driving was fun, and I romanticised this in a way that it was proper cowboy. You know, we had no seatbelts, there was no secret policemen, there were no cameras.
You could smoke and drink at the same time.
The police would pull you over. They would breathalyse you, and if you hadn't drunk enough, they would give you a drink. That's how much fun it was back then.
Them were the days.
Look, a lot of people died, but nevertheless, it was fun driving.
And we do have some of the safest roads in Europe already.
Yeah, but let's keep them safe.
But Germany, they have motorways where you get to your own speed, and they're not necessarily that. The rule is that the quicker you go, the more liable you will be in the event of an accident. So it levels out. And it's worth saying as well that the way the Telegraph's looked at this story, saying Liz Truss will get rid of smart motorways, Rishi Sunak said that as well.
Yes.
So smart motorways, bye.
Yeah, they're both in agreement with this.
What that's happening here is that obviously the Telegraph are going back behind Liz Truss and saying, look, we know she's going to win, so Liz, we're in your team, we're on your fan, but please let this be over. I can't bear any more of this. It's ridiculous. It's done nothing for the Tory party.
Also feels like just saying stuff that people are going to love. We'll get rid of speed limits. We'll bring back those sweets you remember.
It's nonsense. It's just nonsense. Oh, we'll give you mini milks, free mini milks to everybody.
That'd be nice, though.
You're obsessed with milk.
Are you against that?
I love mini milks.
Okay. Moving on now, Friday's Telegraph and why Jacob Rees-Mogg is scrapping woke courses for civil servants. Kerry, what do you think of this?
Jacob Rees-Mogg is axing more than 250 woke civil service training courses. Cabinet Office Minister scraps 60% of sessions. These include courses such as Knowing Me, Knowing You and Find Your Mojo, which I didn't think I'd ever agree with Jacob Rees-Mogg, but here I am. Let's get rid of find your mojo in your own time and not on other people's. We need courses like Do Your Work and Shut Up.
The Shut Up course.
Just shut up and get on with it. We're paying you money to do this.
Yeah.
This sounds a bit extreme from me, doesn't it? But these are a waste of time courses.
Titles. They're all rubbish, aren't they?
Yeah, they're silly.
Title in there.
Oh, so they're not all going to be ABBA titles, because I'd be up for that. I'd be up for, like, doing any ABBA course. Knowing Me, Knowing... I want to do all that. I'll be off.
But that's not what it is.
No, I know it is not. But what exactly is a woke course? Because this is ridiculous now. Woke courses. Where do you find these jobs? In the woke weekly? What is a woke job? What exactly is a woke job?
Well, it's the word that seems to have different meanings depending on your appreciation of it, which makes it pointless.
That's another thing I'm bored with as well. The word woke and the election.
But the courses, some of the courses, one called Conscious Inclusion, which sounds like Gwyneth Paltrow getting frisky. I mean, all of this could just be a pamphlet, couldn't it? You don't need a course in any of these things.
Debiasing decision-making and it's a lot of these... None of this has been shown to work or make much difference, and there is mention that there have been studies of this report by a behavioural insight team. I won't read it through, but it basically agrees with me. I've been writing about this for ages. One of the courses, Barrels to Apples, appears to teach civil servants, teaches them about how the department can make them more ethical. The theory suggests organisations are barrels and the employees are apples inside them. Surely we've been doing this for years. We talk about bad apples, and that's exactly what we're talking about, aren't we? How it spreads around. So
we need a course for that.
We don't need a course for any of this.
What I love about that is...
That's what Jacob
course is called Catching Up with the Obvious.
What I love about that, though,
the bad apples,
is that, Kerry, you managed to say there's a course about getting rid of bias, and I've been right about everything.
Totally.
So, confirmation bias.
I'm not for any course to get rid of my bias.
Brilliant. Next, Friday's Financial Times details the Don't Pay energy bill gathering traction. So what are your thoughts on this?
The world's going to hell, and we here on GBNews will be here to report to the very end. We're hearing horrible predictions of what's coming. People are going to be freezing in their homes and a lot of people dying, and the bit that's most upsetting for many people is pubs are going to be closing. Oh my, in the UK. So what there is a protest to don't pay energy bills. So a grassroots movement is urging people not to pay their energy bills. It's a kind of reminder of the Don't Pay campaign that happened under Thatcher with the poll tax. It was called Can't Pay, Won't Pay. I don't really know. I feel this is a bit premature, really, that we're about to have as you say, it's gone on for ages, but we are going to have a new Prime Minister on Tuesday. And I think the least, wherever your politics are, the least you can do is let her get into the office and state. She's made predictions of what she's going to do. We want to hear what exactly is she going to put into place to help people before we object to it all.
Yes, Sajila?
Well, the government does need to do more to help people, but I'm kind of getting behind this whole can't pay, won't pay. Enough is enough, which is obviously set up by the trade unions.
Oh, I thought it was Barbara Streisand and Donna Summer.
Yeah, enough is enough. I love all the songs. You see, they're naming it after all these wonderful 80s songs. But I do remember when I was a student, I think was it the poll tax? Was it the poll tax? I can't remember, yeah. And all the students were like, no, we're not going to pay, we're not going to pay. And I was like, yeah, we're not going to pay. We're like totally... and said, right, no one's going to pay until the what are the people, the bailiffs came round and they knocked on the door and we were all hiding like flat on the floor. And he goes, we know you're in there, we're going to be back. And then the very next day I went and paid it because I was just such a scaredy cat. I don't want to be done for Same reasons why I left the Green Party, because they said that we might get arrested. I said, arrested at the petrol station?
Yeah, that's too much.
Oh, I think my mum would be very happy about that, so I left that.
Oh, yeah, I'll protest, but not if I'm going to get in trouble.
As long as we don't get into trouble.
Well, Friday's Mirror, and Boris Johnson is telling the next PM to go nuclear. Well, a war can help you win an election, but thankfully, I don't think that's what he means, Sajila.
Yes, so he's come out with a message to his successor. He said, go nuclear, go large, go Sizewell C. So Boris Johnson tells the next PM to go nuclear as he pledges 700 million for Sizewell C just before he leaves, spreading all this money. And he's basically saying that... this is all the fault of Labour, even though they were, Tories have been in power for like 12 years now, and also Lib Dems, Nick Clegg.
Brilliant.
And there's even like, saying, he said, for 13 years, a previous Labour government did absolutely nothing to develop this country's nuclear industry. They said it didn't make economic sense. And he goes, thanks a bunch, Tony. Thanks a bunch, Gordon. Tell that to the British business and industries that are desperately short of affordable, reliable energy. And it was like, OK, so you're still you're not leaving in any kind of dignified way. You're just going to still blame everybody else.
But is he not right?
Is he not right? No,
he has been in power for 12 years. They've had time to do something themselves, haven't they, in 12 years?
Yeah, they have.
He never misses an opportunity, does he? I think
it's only that half the sentence is missing, the bit where the Conservatives, when they actually had control without the Lib Dems there, also failed.
Yes.
Everyone's failed to do anything.
Everyone's failed.
Everyone's failed.
Because no one could predict the Brexit. Nobody could predict the pandemic. Nobody could predict the war. So, and maybe he shouldn't have given all that money to Ukraine for weapons and spent it on our own people. I know, controversial.
Not sure it works that way. The slogan's awful, though, of, where is it? Go nuclear, go large, go with Sizewell C. That's one of the worst slogans I've ever heard in years. You're not going to repeat it, are you? And it's going with the rule of three and getting it all wrong. And he says, compared to the UK, he compared the UK to France, said other countries, said, we have never got back to that kind of rhythm, which is a bit odd because I don't think France has ever been known for its rhythm particularly.
No.
And then he made his comment today, which had Twitter explode, which was all about kettles. I don't know if you followed this, but he said that, for example, to be fair, Twitter has gone off the boil on this because what he was saying was fair enough. He was comparing spending money on nuclear energy, saying that if you buy a kettle for £20, it's more efficient, you'll save £10 a year. But, of course, anyone who hasn't got money, that's just ridiculous. Years ago, I was putting petrol in a car, before we used credit cards. I had £5. I had an argument with my friend who was with me who said, fill the tank because it's more efficient. I said, but I've only got £5. And he got angry. If you fill the tank, you won't only have £5. It's more efficient. And I was like, well, if I buy the petrol station, I can give myself a special deal, but I've only got £5.
Let's move on to Friday's Daily Mail. It tells us of someone who woke up to find Boris Johnson in their bedroom, but it's not another sex scandal, Kerry.
This is great. If you want to meet Boris Johnson, this is the way to do it. A rapper who woke up from a night of drinking at Notting Hill Carnival to find Boris Johnson in his home during a police raid. He said he was discombobulated, which gave the rapper a chance to use the word discombobulated, because
what rhymes with that?
Great word that is. Yeah, it doesn't rhyme very easy, is it? Just throw it out straight away, especially when you're talking about the bobbies breaking into your house. Discombobulated.
We've got the video as well, we can see this.
Yeah, I was wondering whether it's the Prime Minister trying to get a new job, you know. He knows he's going out now, he's got to look for other work, so he's hiding amongst the cops.
All right, let's take a look at the video.
OK.
Let me put Boris on my phone. Well, go on, Boris.
So that actually happened.
You'd expect him, I would have loved him to have made an arrest and just hear him sort of bumbling something out with a little bit of Latin like he does and obfuscating and then blaming Labour.
So, Julia, is this not just... He's doing his bucket list, isn't he? He's doing all the fun things you can do.
Boris definitely has a penchant for, like, breaking into people's houses, because there was a video of him, like, a few months ago doing another police raid. I mean, initially, when I read this story, and I thought, OK, that's fine, because when I was high on morphine in the hospital, I saw, you know, Benny from ABBA came and saw me, Nelson Mandela was changing my fluids, and I thought, you imagine these people, but you actually did see him, and I think he maybe the guy, he's taken this so well, the rapper, what's his name? Z Ramani.
Yeah, see how much advertising he's getting out of this.
Yeah, I know, but he is, but he didn't care that they'd smashed down his door.
Well, I love he said,
they put handcuffs on him.
I've just met the Prime Minister, but I've got no door.
I've got no door.
There's a trade-off for you.
I love that he's put a positive spin on it and treated it like the X Factor judges, like Simon Cowell coming around to his house, knocking on the, like, smashing the door through, and you know, and hey, but you've actually are the wild card. You're going to be coming to judges' houses, because he thinks that Boris is going to help him with his musical career. He goes, oh, Boris is going to give me a hand up. So he's also a music agent now.
He wants Boris to help promote his new song, which I believe is called Promo. Don't call a song promo. People will think that's the promo. All very confusing. Well, that's it for part one. Join us for part two, where we'll be discussing menopause, inclusion, Salvador Dali's religion, and trans athletes pocketing balls. We'll see you then.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. You've been cancelled. Join the club.
Oh, my goodness, mate.
And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
My name is Andrew Doyle. Join me every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. for Free Speech Nation. This is a show where we address current affairs and news stories of the week with the help of two wonderful comedian panellists. I brought in comics because I want to give it a lighter edge, and also they work for less. See you there.
Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton Tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Welcome back. I'm still Stephen Allen, and they're still Sajila Kershi and Carey Marks. Let's dive back into tomorrow's stories. Friday's Times, and there's a story of a far-right internet star who wears Hawaiian shirts. One of the headliners might be wanting to sue for breach of copyright. Sajila, tell us more.
So, neo-Nazi uses code words to spread hate on YouTube. So, a journalist graduate has been branded Britain's most racist YouTuber. I didn't know there was a competition.
Well done him. Congratulations.
Yeah, I didn't know. Yeah, well done.
Not second best.
Yeah, it's good to win things. You have to celebrate the winners. So it's James the Ayatollah Owens has amassed a global fan base with his racist message. And we were just talking about Ayatollah, don't come any closer, which is like a really old song from not the 9 o'clock news.
Yeah.
Yes. Now, James Owens, like somebody, has been a really naughty boy. So he set up, he's basically been radicalised by other YouTube clips, but he uses code words to sort of avoid detection, because obviously if you're overtly racist, the internet knows and doesn't like it and kind of bans you and stuff. And actually, you know, that sadly is where racism is today, where it's not overt. And then you try and convince people that someone is being racist, and you say, no, but they didn't use any racist words, because, you know, they are being racist anyway. So things like, instead of using expressions like people who look white but aren't, so he uses expressions such as people who look white but aren't for Jewish people, or speaks of negrophilia when introducing a discussion denouncing black people, and then rather than referring to Hitler as Hitler, he calls him our uncle. So charming fellow. He tells listeners that Britain would be better off if it had lost the Second World War. Now, Owens has been unmasked by the Times. Well done, Times. Good for you, Times. Despite his attempts at hide using his code name, the Ayatollah, and he's been tracked down because of several blunders on his part. He basically identified himself as the Ayatollah and then said he was going to go as an infiltrator to a neo-Nazi rally, saying that I'd be wearing a Hawaiian shirt, and that's how they nabbed him, because, like, the only racist in the neo-Nazi place who had a Hawaiian shirt.
Well, I bet there's more than one, but they've whittled it down further.
Do you think racists wear... Is that racist costume, then? Is that what people wear? Racists
Not
wear?
one I've heard of before, no.
Do racists know that they're racist, or do you have to appoint yourself?
Well,
do you have to identify
as much as you might not even mean that as a serious question, but this article proves that he must. Otherwise, why would you go around changing your language to be the kind of language that means the filters can't get you unless you know you're saying something wrong?
Well, he does say somewhere, and I'm sure I read it here, was that I outright reject the concept of racism. You think, oh, that's good, OK. It's simply an anti-white label, a libel, and a weapon of mass psychological abuse devised and wielded to keep white people from thinking and acting in our own interest while our sovereignty and homelands are taken from us. So,
Gary, have you got anything on this? I mean...
Sorry, go on.
You got anything on this, or is this the internet? The problem with the internet is you can't police absolutely everything.
Well, I think it's very impressive he got to be the most racist person on the internet. It takes some doing, doesn't it?
That is a high bar.
And also, I think for all his euphemisms he came up, it's quite nice that racists are taking some effort to think about their speech and showing they can use different words and language. So well done him.
And his channel is called Television, the Ayatollah, and it's notched up at 414,000 views.
No, they're the kind of views that make you think. Friday's Telegraph now, and it turns out that Salvador Dali would have been getting some views as well. He was an odd one, but not just because of all that melting clock stuff, Carey.
Well, Salvador Dali wanted to enslave non-white races and create a new sadistic religion. Letters revealed. What a shame, I liked him as well. The artist wanted to introduce a more brutal hierarchy and even human sacrifices. What a one, this fellow, you know. Yeah. According to newly discovered letters, but this has actually been known about him for a while, but this has turned up in a letter which he wrote in 1935, in which he suggested that all whites should... he wrote that all whites should unite fanatically, which they did. I don't think he realises that. Quite successfully at some point. And he's for human sacrifices. He says, I believe that we surrealists are finally turning into priests, which that's quite a big-headed statement, isn't it? Yeah. Which I've never trusted surrealists anyway, not in painting nor in comedy. I always think they're hiding something. Ooh. And the punmeisters, like, they're afraid of telling us what they really think.
Oh, I agree.
They're dangerous, aren't they? There's something about them.
Sajila, I mean, is there a chance that he was just absolutely tripping? Because an elephant with that many knees, something was going off in his head.
Yeah, but also, I mean, you know, I am a fan of his work, I won't lie, but
not his
he's saying about, like, you know, white people. He doesn't look white to me.
Yeah, he's not particularly.
He looks a bit like my dad, actually, like, but with a longer moustache.
He'd have been on his own list.
Your dad's got a longer moustache?
No, my dad had a shorter moustache. He had more sort of a Hitler moustache, but there you go.
Still great paintings, though, right?
Yeah.
I mean, can't we just announce which of the historical figures weren't racist or sexist? It'd be so much quicker. Generally, as you go back, they all turn out to have been something, don't they?
Oh, we all a bit racist anyway?
All right, we really find out a little bit about you now.
Let's move on then for this one. Tomorrow's Times asking whether balls are still needed to play snooker, Sajila.
Oh, that's a nice one. That's a nice one, Mr. Allen. I like that. So, trans woman victory in female snooker sparks fairness row. So, obviously, we've had issues around sport where biological men who transition to women to compete in women's sports. And whilst I agree that in sports like swimming, cycling, boxing, etc., it does give you an unfair advantage, I think with snooker, I mean, given I used to play pool when I was young, I was really good at it. I don't think there's much difference between men and women. But anyway, a transgender snooker player's victory in a women's competition has triggered a fresh debate about fairness and support. Jamie Hunter, 25, became the first transgender woman to win the women's ranking tournament on Sunday, beating Rebecca Kenner 4-1 in the US Opens in Seattle. This has obviously divided the people in saying that, this is unfair. Maria Catalana, who ranks 7 in the World Snooker Championship, said that Hunter should be banned. And I don't know where I sit on this, but I mean, obviously, other women who are biological women who are competing are saying this is unfair. That we shouldn't have our sport kind of, but it's up to them to decide, not for me, for those women who actually compete.
I mean, I don't know enough about snooker to work out whether there would be an advantage to having some of the things they say are advantageous.
Nowhere in the report, nowhere in the items. The one thing we want to know reading this is what the hell can make a difference in snooker? We used to joke, I mean, the sexist jokes is all about women having breasts and getting in the way, wasn't it? But then that cannot be it, surely.
No.
That would make no difference. That would be all women in the women's section anyway. But there is the argument that there should be a separate section. There should be men's sport, and then there should be a separate section for people who are trans, but which is a terrible idea, because then you have men's sport, women's sport, and trans sport, which is a word that's already taken. What can you beat a truck? It doesn't work. So, but
the only problem with the theory. If it weren't for that,
that's where I stand with it.
Well, now tomorrow's Telegraph seems that sexism has finally been sorted. Kerry.
Scotland's last remaining boys' school is letting in girls. Merchiston in Edinburgh will open its doors to girls for the first time in its near history. Scotland's last remaining school exclusively for boys, and it's getting a backlash from former pupils who have said, girls. This is only happening in the pre and junior school. They're still saying, don't worry, the rest of the school is safe from those women.
Girls.
From girly types. The end of an era, this is what people are saying. The former pupils said they feared it would pave the way to becoming co-educational at all ages. They feared that. Let's get some new things to be afraid of. Really, if that's what scares you, that's terrible.
I mean, it does ruin
Girls are scary. Girls are very scary.
I remember, but it apparently does lower your chance as a boy of doing well educationally.
Come on. All girls and all... First of all, can I just say, so the boys are kicking up a fuss because they are having girls entering a boy-only safe space. Oh, join our club, guys. Now you know how we feel.
But I was trying to talk about results.
But results... I'm sorry. When you have all boys schools, they will still find a way to go get girls. All girls schools, they find a way to get boys.
No, again, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about results. I'm not talking about results. I don't know what you think I'm talking about. I'm talking about...
You women have only got one thing on your mind. That's the trouble.
But it's just boys, for some reason, don't do as well in mixed co-educational settings because we're just, I don't know, we don't pay as much attention or something. So girls are really good at exams and boys are better at them if they're in just boys' schools.
Also, education has become far less confrontational and so on because and it's been arguably it's been feminised to an extent that it's less competitive, less combative and so on, which might be good for girls but isn't necessarily good for boys. There is some evidence, you're right, to show that it's better to have separate groups, but I don't know enough about this, do you?
Well, I mean, I went to a mixed school and absolutely loved it, so I'm not going to argue for it, but it's just I know what the counter-argument is, and it's in the results, but not the results. It's very much better to do the other one. That was the highlight of my schooling. Friday's Daily Mail, menopausal women might be a handy source of heat this winter, but you might not find them in the workplace, Sajila. OK, so Daily Mail, 1 million women have changed or quit their jobs due to menopause. Experts warn that 5 billion
£5 billion crisis facing UK businesses, with 1 million more women feared to do the same by 2027. Now, 1 million women in the UK have had to change their jobs or quit working because of lack of support that they get for menopausal symptoms, apparently experts are warning that 5 billion of this is going to cost us 5 billion in overall in the country, because when women give up their work or they change their job because they're not getting supported. So the answer really is support women in the workplace.
Does it say in the article what support's wanted?
Well, I guess, more flexibility and reasonable adjustments, which is, if you have any disability of sorts or health issues, you get reasonable adjustments. So, perhaps if you're having I know, someone, a friend of mine, she gets really bad night sweats, and in the morning she feels really, harangued, so she can start a little bit later, and that's great because her employer's been more understanding. Or if, there's exhaustion hissed halfway during the day, she can go and have a lap. So things like that. But I think it happens to every woman. So it makes sense to me to for the government, for employers to get behind this to support women.
Kerry, your hot take on...
Well, being an expert on the female menopause as I am, I can tell you the symptoms include hot flushes, night sweats, low mood, reduced sex drive, vaginal dryness, an increase in facial hair and difficulty sleeping. Obviously, some things are going to affect work. I'm not sure which ones do exactly here. The hot flushes and the increase in facial hair we can deal with by having colder offices that are darker. As for the rest, I'm not sure how vaginal dryness gets in the way. Can you collate these papers? I can't. My vagina's too dry right now when that comes up.
Well, the facial hairness. Well, now I know. I thought it was the testosterone on this show from all the men, but actually it turns out it's the menopause. Is why I'm growing facial hair.
I mean, to be fair, I've got 6 out of 7 of those symptoms.
Sorry,
I've got 6 out of 7 of those symptoms.
6 out of 7 of those. I mean, it can be nasty. Not every woman will go for the really bad version of it, but a lot of women do have a really hard time of it. So I was just thinking, more understanding employer is not a bad thing, and it saves us money in the long run, apparently.
Well, that's all for part 2, but don't go anywhere, as there will be part 3. We'll be debating forehead reductions, cannabis stereotypes and recycled crustaceans. We'll see you in 2.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. You've been cancelled. Join the club.
Oh, my goodness me.
And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
My name is Andrew Doyle. Join me every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. for Free Speech Nation. This is a show where we address current affairs and news stories of the week with the help of 2 wonderful comedian panellists. I brought in comics because I want to give it a lighter edge, and also they work for less. See you there.
Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GBNews.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton Tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Welcome back to Headliners. I'm still Stephen Allen, and they're still Sajila Kershi and Kerry Marks. Let's move ahead with more of tomorrow's stories. Friday's Guardian, children are talking about mental health to the Famash Get Smash robots. Kerry?
It might well be, actually, yes. According to The Guardian, children are more candid about mental health when talking to a robot. This study involved 28 children from 8 to 13. Reasonably unsurprising. We already know that children open up when they talk to a puppet or a robot. Anything that's not us, really. They hate us. They won't open up to us. We sent them down chimneys a long time ago. They've never let it go. And they still blame us, so there's no getting away from that. The robot analyst works, and it opens children up, and it's a sci-fi scenario waiting to happen, and eventually the robot will attack the children. The basic thing is children will answer to anything. You offer them a sweet, they'll tell you their life story. They're not clever, they're idiots. I don't know if you've ever spoken to one of them. The way to beat a child at chess is just don't let them win. You know, they're dumb, dumb as hell.
But the robot would still beat it because they can these days, that AI. But you're right, it's not surprising, is it? Because no one wants to talk to adults, because you say something to an adult, you make it real. You say it to a robot, you're effectively talking to your toy, aren't you?
Yeah, it's like an invisible friend, isn't it? All children, well, firstborn and only children have invisible friends. Yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking, robots, leave our kids alone. I don't trust robots, I don't trust AI at all.
Do you fully understand robots and AI, or are you just not trusting it just because I don't like technology?
I've seen AI, and I must admit I was torn. Like, he's not a real child. Oh God, I've just given the
No, the AI is getting scary, isn't it? They're dancing and doing all kinds of things they shouldn't be able to do.
Yeah, it's just freaky.
And now they're talking to our children.
I love the technology, though. I don't know, it just feels like such a knee-jerk reaction to go, it's new, it must be bad.
No, it's evil. Work of the devil.
It's Friday's Daily Mail, and what's 3.5 inches long, floppy and upsetting people in Japan. Tell us more.
You're on form today. So, in the Daily Star, Japanese government declares all-out war on floppy disks 11 years after becoming obsolete. Japan has been at peace since World War II, but now the government has declared declared its first war in decades, and it is declared war against the ancient technology which fell out of use decades ago in the rest of the world. So they still have, for a floppy disk, including Sony, which stopped producing them 11 years ago, fax machines. They're still around. Do you remember those fax machines?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they've given a little thing like fax machines was a sort of texting through a printer, like early prototype. PlayStation, robots, all those things, they've got that. But Japan... I'm very confused by this story.
Well, look, pick a side. Either you hate AI or you hate floppy disks, but you can't
do both.
I bring back the Betamax.
Maybe just
didn't last for a reason.
Yeah.
Huh? Actually, no, it was a good model. But anyway, it's I've known Japanese people who've told me about this, that Japan puts out this feeling that they're really high on technology, but actually in their country it's so behind the times. Maybe because they're very patient people. But what I like is that this has come from the new digital minister, which makes me wonder whether he's even real. And he's declaring a war on the floppy disk. But this is a government thing, isn't it? There's always a war on something. You know? Everywhere. The war on knife crime, war on guns, we had a war on fat kids at one point, which of course they just ate everything we threw at them. We never win any of these wars. War on skinny models, I think, that's who we beat for a short while.
I mean, the floppy disk was beautiful. I mean, 1.44 megabytes. Yes. That was when it was fancy. When you were first, it was like 720k before then. But then you get in there. Surely you enjoyed a floppy disk.
Yeah, no, I do. But I don't like technology moving. I just got my head round the CD. Is it CD? No. What is the round?
CD? I think they're CDs.
Do they still have them? I don't listen to music anymore. So what?
The CD is still. I don't know.
CD technology, but DVDs are effectively the same technology.
The disc thing, that's gone now, isn't
They're not called CD-ROMs anymore, are they?
What are they called?
Well, you
DVDs.
don't...
Oh, God, I'm so old.
It's because you've got flash drives. Why would you not store it on there? Let's move on.
Friday's
Guardian, and there's a good reason why lobsters can walk into a tech store giving it all that.
It turns out that crab and lobster shells could be used to make renewable batteries. Prototype designed using chemicals in crustacean shells remains 99.7%. 80% efficient after 400 hours. So this is great news for humanity and really bad news for lobsters. They've had it bad ever since they discovered how great they tasted to humans. And I think very soon we're going to have those places, you'll be able to go into a shop and there'll be a load of lobsters in a jar and moving around, and you say, I'll have a battery from that one, please.
Nice.
Yeah, not nice.
I do like it. I do like crustaceans, things like crabs, shrimps and lobsters, and they're great because you can use them to make broth and other things. So I'm vouching for cockroaches because they have the same sort of crustacean. If you've ever trod on a cockroach, they make that crunching noise. Have you ever done that? Have you ever seen a cockroach and trod on it? Okay, they're really huge.
Yeah.
And I hate them. They're evil. And apparently, if the Earth was destroyed, they'd only be left with them. So I think we should use cockroaches instead, because nobody has any use for them. To make batteries out of cockroaches.
And when the world's ended, there'll just be those batteries left.
And those batteries left, yes.
I think it's brilliant. Let us know when your factory is up and running.
Yes, let's start this factory.
I do love that they say it'll be good for green energy. I mean, well, yeah, let's grind up animals. How green is that? Beautiful. Friday's Daily Star, vegans are holding a protest, but they're not going to milk it, Sajula.
OK, so vegan militia activist group to stage anti-milk protests has sent prices soaring. Now, I get the strikes, obviously those not wanting to pay for, because of fuel bills and energy crisis. But seriously, this is really Thatcherite. They're coming for our milk now. They're basically coming for our cow's milk. So the vegan militia, Animal Rebellion, has vowed to have up to 500 activists stage anti-milk protests by blocking dairy depots over 2 weeks, whilst demanding a switch to plant-based alternatives. How is this ever going to work? So they've already been, Animal Rebellion, have already poured milk out all over the floors of Harrods department store in Knightsbridge. I don't know how they got in. You can't get in if you look a bit dodgy in there.
Yeah, they said we've come in to pour the milk over the floor.
Yeah,
they were like, this way. Milk's over there.
They must have looked a bit... they probably had a rucksack between them. You can't go into Harrods with a rucksack. So obviously the milk was all over the place. No point in crying over the spilt thing.
You threw that joke away.
I threw it.
I thought you could have really spent a bit of time on that one. I should have sold it more. I should have sold it. More of a don't cry over it.
I know. So these are basically... Who are these people? I think they're just entitled middle-class, little brats. Little brats who will probably never breastfed because mummy was too busy and probably had the nanny giving him formula. So I just think.
So, just to balance this, because I think I probably should. If you actually think that the way in which these animals are treated is cruel, then you might want to change or end the industry that they're in. What else could you do other than do a protest?
What, spilling milk all over the place? Like when we're in the cost of living crisis, we could give that milk to people who need it. Like me, I love milk. And Leo Kurz, he could have that milk every day. He drinks a bottle here.
Who does?
Leo.
Oh, OK.
Yeah, so...
I think it's more that they love the cows rather than that they're caring about the people who would like the milk.
No, I know, but the point is they're wasting a lot of milk to try and make a point. That is not... it's a dirty protest.
You waste a few protests and then...
You hate cows. Sorry.
I love cows.
I was interrupting.
No, I was going to say, if you waste some milk to end an industry that you think is cruel to animals, it's worth it in the long run. It's not my belief, I'm just giving the counter-argument.
You're giving the cow's argument?
No, the counter-argument.
A counter-argument.
Oh, dear.
The cow's argument is more along the lines of... That's probably it. Any more thoughts on that, Kerry? We're doing animal noises now. That's the level I've got.
Well, I think the downside of it is it's like burning books. You end up increasing the sales. It doesn't really work as a protest. But also, who cleans it up? If you go into Harrods and pour all the milk on the floor and then get your mops out and clean it up, because otherwise someone else has got to clean up your mess. So do your protest, but have some conscience.
Well, Friday's Financial Times, and the more willing you are to change your mind, the cleverer you are, but the less work you will get as a TV pundit, Kerry.
Why... Oh, sorry.
This is about intellectual... humility.
Oh, so we are on the same story. This is the Financial Times, yeah. Why intellectual humility matters. And this is about why some people believe in conspiracy theories, and the study suggests that it's actually about intellectual humility. So not religion and not circumstances, not poverty, not anything else, although it's likely to be the same thing that will drive you to religion and... You know, if you go on TikTok, it's loaded with all these people who want to tell you that the moon landings aren't real. The moon landings were fake, or the moon landings were real, but the moon is fake. They're not sure which one is which. Or the moon is really close, but it's so tiny it looks like it's far away. And there's endless people trying to prove that the world is flat. It's because, well, I've been to Holland, that was quite flat, and other truly daft ideas. I used to work as we've said before, as a magician years ago, and I would come across... I once showed a group of people a magic trick where a coin goes into a bottle. You must have seen it. And someone took the coin back. It was their coin. They examined it and said, oh, you made the coin go soft. And the whole table started pointing at me, going, we've got you. You made the coin go soft. So they gave me another coin, and I put it into the bottle and poured it straight back out again. It had gone into a bottle. It was impossible. And they instantly took the coin, their coin, signed, and said, you made the metal go soft. And they were crediting me for something more impossible than anything I could do. I mean, that would be incredible if I knew how to make metal go soft just by touching it.
Yeah. The Dunning-Kruger effect gets talked about a lot online as well. The more convinced you are about something, the more likely you're not that intelligent, basically.
Right,
Yeah,
but the theory is intellectual humility.
Don't you think this is like actually a reflection of society right now, and especially when it comes to Twitter, where, you know, you're so polarised and you will not listen to the other side. Like even things like, oh, there's 3 lefties on the screen, I shall turn my TV off. Why? Why are you going to do that? Why are you not going to listen? Because it goes away from what you believe. So you're not willing to open your mind to new arguments. And I love this thing where it says, when, you know, we should admit when we're wrong and be interested in understanding the truth of an issue rather than defending your right to be right, basically.
Like you and the cows.
I don't want to sound too opinionated, but the actual thing is they're idiots.
Friday's Guardian, we shouldn't call people who sit around smoking weed all day lazy.
No, because apparently lazy stoners whose ambitions span no further than lying on the sofa and eating crisps is incorrect. But even though they do that, the research has shown that there is, like, those who regularly use cannabis are no more likely to lack motivation compared to non-users.
OK.
So they're just having a more mellow time, I guess. And the research found that there's no difference in motivation for rewards, pleasure taken from rewards, or brain's response when seeing rewards compared with non-users. However, I do think that listeners out there, given the cost of living and the price of food, certain types of food, I would say no to drugs, say no to cannabis, because you can't afford the munchies after.
We don't do this with beer, though, do we? I mean, beer makes you lethargic after the 10th one, and yet we don't think that drinkers are lazy.
No, it takes 10 for you, does it? You just said that to show off how much you could. Really tough. No, the idea that stoners are lazy is lazy in itself as a stereotype, and of course we know that hash comes from the term hashish. Assassin rather comes from hash. Hashish. So assassins, Arabic is where it comes from. My mouth is all over the place, but you know what I'm saying is that, of course, assassins weren't exactly lazy. So
they got the job done. Friday's Metro, and you can get a forehead reduction, and if I got one, I'd nearly disappear. Kerry.
Forehead reductions are on the rise. Experts and patients share what it's like to have one. So a lot of people now, I don't know where this has come from that it's bad to have a big forehead. I don't have a particularly big forehead, but it was enough that you're going to measure it now.
It's a forehead.
Check. Apparently it gets called a 5-head now. Someone did come up to me at a gathering. He walked across the room. He went, slaphead. And I tried to point out to him that having a large forehead is a good thing. That's where the frontal cortex of the brain is, the intelligent part. You know, it's like saying to someone you've got a big garden wall because obviously you've got a big garden, or making fun of someone for buying large underpants and going, ha, 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 you must have a big penis. It doesn't work. And he said, if you're so clever, you should be able to make fun of me back. And I was like, I am. You're too dumb to even realise because you're a taphead. Because you look like you spent your life on a high-gravity planet.
Well, let's move on to Friday's Metro, and there's finally a good reason why you should turn your phone off during a flight, Sajila.
Oh, wow. So Southwest Airlines pilot threatens to halt the flight if passengers don't stop airdropping nude pictures. So this is the pilot speaking out, saying, here's the deal. The pilot can be heard saying it over the intercom. If this continues while we're on the ground, I'm going to have to pull back on the gate. Everybody's going to have to get off, and we're going to have to get through security involved, and your vacation mission is going to be ruined. Whatever that airdrop thing is, quit sending those naked pictures. Let's get yourself to Kaba, the pilot added. So somebody was like sharing these, naked. Somebody complained, like a fun killjoy. Why not just turn your thing off?
Kerry, do you regret sending them?
For once, I am not guilty. You first read this story and you think, well, where is this flight? But I know what it's going to be. It's not going to be a load of women sending pictures. It's going to be men sending
We've got to leave it there, I'm afraid, with that mental image. Thank you to my guests, Gila Kershi and Kerry Marks. Headliners will be back tomorrow at 11 with Mark Dolan, Diane Spencer and Nick Dixon. Till then, good night.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton Tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
On Mark Dolan Tonight, we have a simple plan, which is to inform, stimulate, and entertain in equal measure. It's all about getting your opinions on the national television airwaves. I love my viewer emails, mark@gbnews.uk. So do join me from 9 p.m. to midnight every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday for big guests, big opinions, and a big presenter. 6'5", don't you know? See you then on GB News.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. You've been cancelled. Join the club.
Oh, my goodness me.
And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
My name is Andrew Doyle. Join me every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. for Free Speech Nation. This is a show where we address current affairs and news stories of the week with the help of two wonderful comedian panellists. I brought in comics because I want to give it a lighter edge, and also they work for less. See you there.
Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all,